The West Virginia basketball job is too close to call now. Who are they going to pick?
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. This is Locked On West Virginia. Thanks for joining, guys. We're going to be brought to you by Game Time today. Get the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. As we know, Ben Mccollum off the board. We have multiple candidates that Wren Baker is still looking at. One thing we know about Wren Baker, he's never missed a hire. But I thought, you know what? We've talked a lot about this. We really hashed it over a million times this week. And so let's bring on a fresh voice, somebody fresh to really talk about this job and what it brings to the table and a couple other things. So let's join my good friend, John Kurtz, man. What's up, brother?
What's going on, Paul? Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on short notice. You're a tough dude to get in short notice usually. Usually it's I've got to plan it out with you. So I do appreciate you for coming on. Rough week.
Yeah. That's what I told you when I popped on here. I was like, forgive me laughing, man. It's not that I'm laughing at you guys. It's just like, I feel for you, man. Like it's brutal. Yeah. Everything that's happened the last week. And I know, like, you know, especially when you just couple like all the transition with the football program, just, you know, everything going back to the Hugs phone call, you know, the radio interview or whatever. I'm just like, you guys are a great fan base. I've said it many times when I've come on here. Like I loved going to Morgantown when I was still traveling the league full time. And so I'm really partial to the fan base. So I feel for you guys. I definitely do.
You know, I saw something that made me chuckle earlier. It was the Will Smith meme. Why don't nobody want me, man? You know, that one, and it had a West Virginia logo on its head. That's kind of how it feels right now. Turns out Darren DeVries didn't like Morgantown very much. Doesn't mean he's not a great coach. It was a great hire. I say this all the time, and it's obvious amongst West Virginia fans, but a lot of people don't know. West Virginia's basketball hires are the best in the country, literally. Like, I don't know a person that's better. His first hire was Ben Mccollum. His second hire was Grant McCaslin. His third hire was Mark Kellogg, who's had the women's team in the tournament in 3 years in a row. His fourth hire was Darren DeVries. Like, he is an elite with a capital E AD at hiring basketball coaches. And because a lot of people don't know, he coached basketball before he was an AD at the Division II or I level. So, you know, he is deeper into it than most ADs are. He looks at analytics. He looks at a lot of different stuff. So, you know, he recognized the value this job holds. And I think I want to start there with you, John. How good is this job in your opinion?
Man, I think it's a very good job. I mean, I think, like, honestly, the point that you made about Darren DeVries kind of speaks to it. I was thinking this as you mentioned that because I had, heard the same things. And I think just the way he handled himself on the way out the door, you can kind of deduce that just wasn't a huge fan of the situation of being there in Morgantown, but he took the job, right? So that tells you that it's a good job. Like, he went to a place where he may not have been sure about what the fit was going to be like for him or his family, but he's like, hey, man, this is too good of a job for me to pass up. And and this is somebody who knew that you can win there, right? Like, the ultimate, he has shown, like, he'll be a job jumper. He wants to climb the ladder. And he looked at West Virginia and said, like, man, this is a place where I know I can go right away and win. And I'll be doing it in arguably the best conference in America. And he did that. And, he put together a tournament team. I don't care what Bubba Cunningham and the committee say. Right. He put together a tournament team, turning it into a tourney team from what was, just a mess and a lot of drama and stuff that had happened over the previous year. So I would take some solace in that. I know that's not, it doesn't make you feel all that much better, but in terms of what the job is, I would take some solace in that. And, like, you get the right guy there. I mean, you just look at what Hugs did. Obviously, you went to a Final Four. So
did Beeline.
Yeah, I'm a K-State guy. And I think K-State is a pretty good job. And K-State's been to the Elite Eight 3 times since I was in college. So 2010 was the first one. They've been to 3 since then. And I like to think, hey, pretty good job. Like, you can definitely win here. You can have success here, but have not been to a Final Four, right? And obviously that's happened at West Virginia, Final Four recently, not since the 60s for K-State. Right. But going down. I'm looking down the list here of the year by year. You know, I mean, you got the Final Four, you got third round, second round, regional semi, so Sweet 16, first round, Sweet 16, Sweet 16. Like, you know that you can win here. You know that the resources are there. Obviously, as we found out during football season with the financial backing that's gone behind Rich Rod, like there's a lot of money that is there. Sure. People are definitely interested in supporting the program. You've got a really high profile alum now and Pat McAfee that is making a lot of money that definitely does not hurt. So, I mean, there's no reason that you can't win and win at a really high level in the Big 12. You know, I mean, is it Kansas? No, it's not Kansas. But outside of that, I mean, you start looking around the rest of the Big 12, the rest of the jobs there, like, I don't know, I guess maybe you'd put like Arizona or Houston, maybe like a step above. But in terms of the general Big 12, I don't think there are a whole lot of jobs that could say, hey, definitively, we are better than West Virginia. So I think that combined with Wren Baker, combined with the support that you're going to throw behind it, just go find a good ball coach, man, because in today's day and age with NIL and revenue sharing and how that's going to break down, like just get someone that can be a good ball coach. And it's pretty clear that the financial support is going to be there.
As people continue to pour in, we have a couple hundred on X, 113 of you guys over here on YouTube. I would like you guys to go over to John Kurtz and support him on his YouTube channel. It's John Kurtz, I believe it's what you call it, isn't it, John? And then also tell them about your newsletter.
Yes, you can subscribe to the Open for Business Big 12 newsletter. What I'm trying to do there is, like, you know, if you're getting college football, college basketball news these days, so much of it is like filtered through the SEC and Big 10 lens. So I'm taking all the news, getting it to you, but filtering it through a Big 12 lens. Like, what does this mean for the Big 12? I mentioned revenue sharing. Like, how does that affect the Big 12? You'll get that for free, straight to your inbox, and you can subscribe every month. Yeah, there you go. OFBnews.com. That's OFBnews.com to subscribe. So a couple times a week, totally free. We got 3,500 plus reading it already. So
that's great, man. That's really grown in a pretty quick amount of time.
Yeah, started in like July. So yeah, we're still under a year. Yeah,
awesome, man. So make sure you guys go check that stuff out. Obviously, I feel like John is the best Big 12 guy there is. Him and Drake. You know, I think those guys go in. I mean, they're both really, really good at what they do. There are no two better. So I appreciate John, what he does for it. The Big 12 and West Virginia. He talks about us a lot. So you had some thoughts, I think, on this job, you know, in a show you did the other day, and you were talking about different aspects of the job. And I was hoping you could kind of reiterate a couple of those points, because I think it really made a lot of sense to me, especially that now that Darren DeVries has kind of gone out the door. You'd mentioned just get a ball coach, but what do you think it is about the West Virginia job that's attractive to a guy right now? Like we mentioned, the resources and all that, and the money's there. Bob Huggins really left this place in a good spot. Do you think a guy like Jared Calhoun, who obviously came up under Bob Huggins, do you think would that deter you as an AD to hire a guy like that may be bringing a Huggins connection kind of back already?
It wouldn't to me. I mean, now I will say I don't intimately know the situation. You know, I don't know what those guys' relationship still is to this day, or like how, you know, you would probably have a better idea of like what the feelings are among the fan base if it would rub people the wrong. But my take would be, and my guess would be, that if he's the guy, I'm not going to let that stop me. Like, if he's the guy that can win and is going to want to stay in the job for a while and not just bail and provide some stability to the program, would not deter me one bit. So I say that as an outsider. You guys as an insider can take that and interpret it. But me looking from the outside in, I think that's a hire that I would be perfectly comfortable making if you think that he really, truly is a dude that can win. And usually I'm like, really, one of the points I wanted to make on the show was like, usually I'm very much just go hire the best coach. If he leaves after a year or two or whatever, it means he did a great job, and your job's in a better position than it was before. And people look at it and say, hey, somebody can win there. Like, as a K-State fan, I remember going through this argument back and forth when they were hiring Chris Kleiman when Bill Snyder had left, because there was a lot of talk of, like, you know, Seth Luttrell was a hot name, which is kind of funny now because he flamed out. But Seth Luttrell was a hot name at the time in North Texas. And like, you know, people were really worried about like, oh man, it seems like this guy's a job jumper. And I was like, dude, like, if you hire him and he wins, then you've just proven that someone other than Bill Snyder can win here. And even if he leaves after 3 years, who cares? Your program's in a better spot. So I'm always the guy that leans that way. But there's always an exception to the rule, right? And I think this is one of those exception to the rule times because West Virginia has gone through a lot in the last 2 years. I mean, you had a whole year of an interim head coach. Shout out to K-State grad Josh Eiler, by the way. But you had a whole year with an interim head coach. Now you've had a year with a guy who took the job, performed well, and then left and broke your heart. Like, especially with the way it went down and how much, the hard feelings that are there at the end of it with DeVries and the way he left. I think this is a situation where you really do need somebody to come in that you feel like is going to be stable and be there for a little while and really truly embrace where you're at. So, and that's where maybe like Calhoun, it could kind of help if he's got that sort of Bob Huggins connection to sort of put a bow on this. Maybe that makes it more likely that he's somebody that would want to stick around and really embrace the program and embrace the fan base and all of that, because a big part of it is the fan base, right? You want to mend some fences there, but also just, for the kids in the program and the program in general, it's just, if you start having like, hey, one guy is coming in and then leaving every single year, or there's always drama, then, you can be negatively recruited against. People look around and just be like, what's going on here? Like, why does nobody want to stay here? Right. So I do think this is kind of an exception to the rule as far as how I would philosophically typically view making a hire.
Yeah, I was just debating somebody that right before you and I came on, actually. Like, this person's like, I'm tired of getting a new coach every year, but that's really not what's happened here. Huggins stuck his foot in it and got fired, right?
Yeah.
And then Josh Eilert was the Band-Aid over the bullet hole. That's all it was. He was never expected to succeed. I spoke to staff members that were on staff with him. They all knew that it was an unwinnable situation. You had 3 guys in their first year as assistants at D1 level. Like, there was just way too much. If they would have won, like, he would have probably, even a guy that had been at West Virginia for 17 years, if Josh Eilert had won in that scenario, he may have been on to the NBA by now. Like, that was an incredibly tough situation. Let's go to break really quick, guys. On the other side, I got a couple more questions for John, then he's going to go, and we'll be done in just a second, guys. So stick around for that on Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by, of course, 5 Hour Energy. If your dayline savings time is snuck up on you again and you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5 Hour Energy does have your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, because sometimes you need a little boost to get you through the day. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in around to golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. Basketball madness. I've been staying up watching late basketball games all evening long. The tournament action has been something that's really kept me down. So I need a 5 Hour Energy that helps keep me up through the evening and through the next day. What about longer days? Well, get outside for a hike or a run. Tropical Burst can be your go-to for that. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or a 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one today? Well, grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store, because they're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. We are in segment 2. I can't crack a do, but I do have a Dr. P, so I'm going to crack a Dr. P really quick as we roll through. I ran out of do. All right, John. So I wanted to ask you about a couple of these candidates, and I know that you don't intimately know all the candidates that we are dealing with here, but to kind of give you a backstory on Calhoun, obviously, he is, obviously he had the Youngstown State job and really had to build that thing into something. And then he got hired by Utah State, and they won 26 games this year in his first year, where he had to revamp an entire roster. And then they got drubbed in the tournament by UCLA. So people are kind of sour and down on him over that. There is the Huggins connection. There is the Huggins donors connected to Calhoun. He is absolutely one of the people that the university is looking at. Outside of him, though, John, Nico Medved, which is a name I know you probably heard before at Colorado State. Obviously, they play for a spot in the Sweet 16 tonight. His wife is from West Virginia, so it makes a lot of sense. His alma mater, Minnesota, a lot of people trying to tie him to that job. A lot of people think he would be a great fit in Morgantown.
It's funny you bring that up because, when you texted me that name earlier, I was like, man, last time I heard that name was actually when K-State hired Jerome Tang, because there was some conversation about that then. Now, his resume at the time, so I can remember being a little bit underwhelmed by it at the time, but that was back after the 21-22 season. So at that point, he had been a coach at Colorado State, the head coach, for 4 years and had been to one tournament. Like he built up to one tournament appearance, and then lost in the first round. Since then, obviously now he's been back a couple more times and now is still playing here in the second round. So he's added more to that. So I'm certainly more open to it now, being like, okay, like looks like this guy may really have some things rolling.
Not an easy place to win.
Not an easy place to win. And this is where, when I say like hire a ball coach, like these are the kind of guys that I think you have to sort of parse through. And it's not going to be like a super sexy name. Like I understand that. But I don't know that that's like really what West Virginia needs right now. Honestly, I feel like last year, I mean, I guess you could make the argument like DeVries, really good ball coach, but also fairly sexy name,
sexy name,
yeah. Especially when it came attached with his son. That was a pretty sexy name
for sure.
I don't think that's what you have to have here. So I would just kind of caution, like, hey man, Wren Baker, you outlined his resume of hiring coaches.
He's good at it. Yeah.
Those have not all been like sexy names at the time necessarily when he's making that hire. So
no,
I would just urge a lot of patience with that sort of hire here and what's going to happen. Because that is sort of the reality. I think when you combine, looking for another coach again this year and just where you're at right now in the cycle, and that you need someone that you feel like is going to be committed to the job and stick around, like that's probably more of the tier of coach that you're going to be looking at. But that doesn't mean at all that it's going to be to be a bad thing.
One more guy. What about Chris Mack? He's obviously, at the mid-major level, University of Charleston right now. That would be a sexy name and a great coach. Don't know if he's a West Virginia fit, but he's for sure a dang good ball coach.
I mean, Chris Mack is an interesting one, like because of the success that he's had. Now, obviously one of the stops that I guess it depends on if we're going to lump. I'm going to consider Xavier like a major job, right? I think that's fair. He's had a lot of success and sustained success at a major job, which geographically at least is somewhat close, which maybe that makes a difference when you're thinking about long-term fit there. So with that, it's like, would you rather go with a guy that you feel like might have more upside based on where he's at in his career, like a Medved, that he hasn't gotten the big shot yet, he hasn't been able to take his big swing, or somebody that you've seen just a ton of at the high major level that had one really good run, outstanding run, and then kind of flamed out in a place that I do think is uniquely difficult. Like I think there are reasons I'm not going to try and just make excuses for the entire reason that all flamed out after Xavier, but I do think that can be a tough place to win. So I think I wouldn't say that I have a strong opinion either way on like which one I would think is better. I would defer to Wren probably on that one and what he thinks. I guess as I'm thinking out loud, as I'm speaking it out loud, I'm like, I might lean more toward Medved on that.
Same here. It's
like I have a little bit of like a hesitation on like going with like the retread route and like maybe not. But I guess it depends. Like, if you want to swing for the fences a little bit more, I think you go for Medved. And so I might prefer that. That's the way I'm going to typically lean. So forget everything I just said about not having a strong lean.
Well, and the thing about it is too, like you mentioned, Medved is a guy who hasn't got to take his big swing yet. Mac has already been able to have chances to do that. And then there's Calhoun, obviously the other guy. And then there's a couple other names on the list that, unless you've done your research, you probably wouldn't really know a lot about. You got the Arkansas State coach, Brian Hodgson, who was a Nate Oates disciple and has a lot of he was the number 2 overall recruiter, 247 says in 2023. So he's got that kind of background. You got Bryce Drew at Grand Canyon is the name that comes up. Yeah. And one other name I've been told to look at is Alan Huss, the High Point head coach, who has really been good there. 2-time Big South Conference Coach of the Year. So there are names, he's 56-14 in his only 2 years at the D1 level. So I don't know if there's enough on that meat on that bone really, but there are names out there. I think, like you said, trust Wren, and that's something we hear a lot in this fan base. Just trust Wren. But man, a lot of our peeps are really getting a little. The portal opens tomorrow, John. So last question is: do you think Wren should be quick but don't hurry, or should he just kind of? You think he should be in a hurry because the portal opens? I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I understand the antsiness 100%. I do, because that is the lifeblood of the sport these days, and you don't want to get caught in too difficult of a position there. It's such a hard one, man, because I was going to say my experience as a K-State fan was watching the whole portal cycle last year. Like, K-State took some big swings at the beginning of the cycle and came up just short. Like Caleb Battle, who was, playing well for Gonzaga last night. Like they thought they had him locked up, lost it at the last minute. And then they kind of had to panic and overspend for guys. And they still wound up with an expensive roster, but it didn't really fit. And they didn't have enough in the backcourt. And so it can cause problems if you're not there and ready to go right off the jump. But you also do have to think of this. No one wants to think about it like this, but you have to think about it like this is not just a one-year decision, right? You're thinking about building for the long haul, multi-year. Nobody wants to hear that at all. But there are a lot of considerations there. I like kind of how you put it, like be quick, but don't hurry to the point of missing out on a great candidate. I would not sacrifice hiring the guy that you think is the right candidate to gain an extra week in the portal. I'll put it that way. So I get the antsiness. There are dangers to it. It's really kind of an unfair position to be in with the way that the calendar is in the sport. And some of that, by the way, goes to teams that are still in the tournament,
right.
So there's a lot of messed up stuff in college athletics right now that you just have to wade through and deal with. But I would not sacrifice, hiring my 1B or hiring my number 2 just because I was worried about getting a weak jump start in the portal, as much as that may suck, to hear as a fan and think more about the long term. Yeah.
And, as I think about some of this stuff, Calhoun, he interviewed Saturday, and there are guys that he's going through the process. It's not like you can do it all at once. And it does take some time to pull off these interviews, even though you can do them virtually. Wren is an in-person kind of guy. We've heard him say that before. So I think, like you said, it's a tough decision. You might have to sacrifice a few good players this year that maybe we could get. But if a good coach is going to be able to come in and evaluate and kind of do what DeVries did last year, who also got a late start, had to recruit by himself for the first week or two, and really did. I mean, as much as we dislike him now, did an incredible job putting that roster together. There was literally 0 players on the team, right? So one guy eventually came back. So, John, I appreciate you for joining in, man. While we've got at our peak right now, closing in on 700 people in here, can you tell everybody where they can find you one more time and about your newsletter?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Happy to be on here. Definitely check out the YouTube channel, just John Kurtz, JohnKurtz on YouTube, where I'm talking about the Big 12, couple live shows throughout the week. And then my Big 12 newsletter, if you want to just learn what's going on in the Big 12, how national news affects the Big 12, not the Big 10 or the SEC, you can go to ofbnews.com. That's ofbnews.com to subscribe to my Open for Business Big 12 newsletter. It's totally free. You're going to get it to your inbox twice a week, and you can join 3,500 plus that have already subscribed.
That's incredible, man. 3,500 is a lot. Congratulations on that success, guys. And make sure you check out John on YouTube and the OFB newsletter. I get it every to my email box. It's real simple, real easy to read. So John does a great job with that. Thanks for joining the show, man, on short notice, and glad to have your thoughts on this search. And maybe if whenever this thing goes final, we can have you back on to get your thoughts again.
Yeah, would love to. Wishing nothing but the best to all you guys, man. I know it's been a rough week, but I'm pulling for you guys. I'm pulling for you guys, my friends. So yeah, happy to do it, and I'll come back anytime.
All right, John. Guys, we're going to go to one more break. On the other side, we'll come out of this in segment 3, and I'll give you my final thoughts. All right, guys, we'll be right back. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by Game Time, of course. We love game time around here. Imagine watching your favorite team live, feeling the energy of the crowd, and witnessing unforgettable moments. Well, there's nothing like that in a big game person. Getting tickets shouldn't be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute seats at unbeatable prices. Game Time Picks makes curation easier. Finds better value for yourself, better tickets for sports, comedy, concert, theater, etc. Gives you peace of mind. When you're buying those seats, you can look in the app, look around, and see if you like the seats before you buy. No surprise fees at checkout and the lowest price guarantee, so you can book with total confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. And download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. And ask yourself the question of questions. What time is it? It's game time. And we are back in segment 3. We got a Dr. P for segment 3. That rhymes, doesn't it? I'm very simple. If it rhymes, it makes me happy, guys. I'm not real hard to impress. Okay, so want to thank John once again for coming on. Guys, I'll tell you, John, man, is just one of the best thinkers in our space. He does such a good job, talking Big 12, talking West Virginia. And I thought he made some really good points, obviously. I don't know which way this thing's going to end up. And I'm curious, a name that was shot to me earlier, as you forgive my cat in the background here, Alan Huss at High Point, I think is a name that we need to keep our eyes on, guys. I don't want to say who sent it because I don't know if they want it out there, but as far as their name attached to it, but he hasn't had a ton of experience per se. He's 56-14 and 20. He was 27-5 in conference play in his 2 seasons there, and has done a really good job at High Point. He was at Creighton. He studied under McDermott. So I think Wren is trying. If he hires this guy here, and I'm not saying he's going to at all. I'm not even saying he may be number 3 or 4 on the list. Excuse me. I'm just told that Wren likes him. Okay. So he likes a lot of these guys, right? But Huss specifically, what is it about him that's similar to Darren DeVries? Well, let's look at it. And this is on the Ear Sports 247 site. I think this might be Mike Casaza that wrote this. So he wrote, longtime assistant at Creighton. There's one thing. Who hasn't been a Division I head coach for too long. There's 2 things. And might have his eye on another job. Well, that's basically Darren DeVries, guys. Where has Wren Baker heard this before? Should it be disqualifying? Huss played at Creighton for Dana Altman and there with Greg McDermott. And there's an obvious thought that Huss wonders about the chair at the top of the bench in Omaha. He left Creighton after 2022-2023 season, but McDermott signed an extension. So Huss was the Big South Conference Coach of the Year last year, led the team to the regular season title and a runner-up finish in the CBI. He repeated as Coach of the Year and regular season champion this year, and also led the team to the conference tournament title and his first NCAA tournament bid. A quick, high-scoring offense gets contributions from all over the court, from up and down the bench, and there is skill with passing, shooting, and space and pace. Limited turnovers. Not surprisingly, he just signed a contract extension, though realistically, that's there to reward High Point if and when Huss moves on. He's 56-14 overall and 27-5 in conference play in his 2 seasons. Let's see. Looking up his age, he is 46, really close to Darren's age when he got hired, obviously at West Virginia. Darren 49. Is there anything extra we can pull out on him here? So obviously that's in North Carolina, so that's within our region as well as far as recruiting goes. Now you would scale that up because obviously you're not going to be recruiting the same talent that you at High Point that you are at West Virginia generally. Maybe one or two players will cross over, but not usually. In 2024, he was a mid-season recipient of the Joe B. Hall National Coach of the Year Award, which was pretty good, and later named the ESPN Coach of the Week in the men's power rankings of January 29th. So he's got a lot here, guys. I mean, I think this is one of those guys that you might be able to replicate some of what Darren had with this team. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing or a bad thing, or that you should even try to replicate DeVries, but I think you should. Everything except the exit went right, in a couple of games at the end of the year that we can speculate on whether he was all in on or not. But overall, if you take away the exit, 99.99999% of the fan base, we all felt positively about this year going into next year with Darren DeVries. First of all, it was year one. They had to replace 0 through 13. You had one guy come back and he redshirted, so that doesn't count. And they still won 19 games and was a tournament team, even though they got left out. They were a tournament team, and they only really had a bad loss to Colorado, TCU, and I guess you could say, and those were actually pretty tough teams. I mean, those teams will be tough in the NIT when they play. So I think if you can replicate something similar to what DeVries was, and maybe Wren is into the analytics, so if the in-person meetup matches some of the analytics that Wren likes, maybe you can. High Point's a very similar job to Drake, so I think that there is something to it. Now, do I think he would be the best fit? I don't know. I don't know enough about him. I haven't watched a single interview, but I'll say this: I wouldn't be too mad about it. I went and watched some tape that they do play a fun style of ball. So I just have to, I watch press conferences because I get a feel for what kind of personality they are. Right. I think they're important to me as a content creator and somebody that covers the team. Like, are they a Bill Belichick style guy? Like, that's no bullshit, or like Darren DeVries, it's no BS. Or are they more like Bob Huggins, who's a little more conversational? Or are they like, John Calipari or Will Wade, who has no filter? Like, all that stuff matters. So I don't know. But Huss, a name to watch, I think, guys. Thanks for joining. I came on a little bit sooner than I expected to, but John, I couldn't turn John down at 3:30. I mean, he's literally – a guy I have so much respect for. So if you have any respect for me, please go and follow John over on John Kurtz on YouTube, and obviously Open for Business OFB newsletter. So he does a great job, and make sure you subscribe here, guys. Hit that subscribe button, move your mouse clicker or your thumb over just an inch. Click that button. Obviously hit that like button too while you're here. We've got 600-700 people in here watching this, so we should be able to get the likes up a little bit. And share this thing out, man. If you're watching this, whether you just copy the link in the top of the bar, or if you click, just share, that's the number one way you can help me grow and help me as like I say this a lot. I don't ask for money or anything like that. All I ask is that you try and share the video out if you have a minute, and it's not hard to do. You just copy and paste the link into your X, on X or on Facebook, and you don't even have to say anything. Just check out Paul's latest take, or just put the link in there and post it. Right. That's the number one way you can help me. So, and I say this a lot too, but like, you're probably thinking that somebody else will do it. Literally, maybe one person, and I've had 6,000 people in here at once before and had nobody reposted it. So it's I don't know what it is about asking people to do it. It's like, they just don't have time or can't or won't. But if you're watching this, just repost it for me one time. Just try to get it, get the show to blow up a little bit and trying to grow this thing. And I don't want to beg anybody, but man, I'm so desperate to make this thing big bigger, I should say. I mean, we did really good. We did almost 1 million views in December. I don't want to forget that. But a lot of that was fueled by the Rich Rod thing. So I'm not delusional. I understand that. As of now, we're obviously doing great because of the Darren DeVries thing, and we're hiring another coach. I'm not delusional. I understand that too. But we were doing pretty good without all that stuff too. So there's a lot going on. I got to go live again here in another hour because we got a football hire to talk about, guys. I don't know if you know this, but we hired a new wide receivers coach. So I got to talk about that next. So thank you for joining. I appreciate you all. I really do. I love you guys. You guys mean the world to me. As I say all the time, I wear this WV on my chest because I love the Mountaineers with all my mind, body, heart, soul, and spirit. And hopefully you do too. So if that's how you feel about the Mountaineers, you're proud to be from West Virginia. You walk around with your head held high because you're from West Virginia. This is the place for you because I ain't embarrassed about it. Are you? And if they don't like us, well, they can't whoop us, can they? That's how I feel about it. So I'll see you guys on the next one. You guys have a great day. We got to talk some football here tonight. I'll see you then. Good night. You're ruining my